Okay, so you asked about what made Pelé, the king of football, such an icon. And honestly, digging into it, you see right away it's more than just being a great player.
Oh, absolutely. It really feels like the story of how football itself was kind of lifted onto this massive global stage, largely through him.
Exactly. It's fascinating, isn't it, how one person gets so tied to a whole sport and everyone everywhere knows the name.
Mm-hmm. And this deep dive, well, it's based on a pretty detailed historical look at his life. We're really trying to unpack, how that legendary status was built.
Right. So we'll trace that path just like the source material lays it out, from like kicking a homemade ball around in Brazil.
Literally made of socks and newspapers sometimes.
Yeah. All the way to lifting World Cups and becoming this household name across the planet. It's almost like a myth, but it started very real, very humble.
Yeah, the overview really starts there, grounding us in his early life. Edson Arantes do Nascimento, born 1940, Três Corações, Brazil. And yeah, humble beginnings is putting it mildly.
Definitely not the sort of polished academy background we might see today.
Not at all. And that image you mentioned, playing barefoot with that makeshift ball, it just screams pure love for the game, doesn't it?
It really does. No fancy gear, just passion.
It highlights that innate joy he found in it. And it's funny, the nickname Pelé,
Ah, yeah, the origin story.
it wasn't some grand title, was it? Just a childhood thing, mispronouncing a goalkeeper's name Belay.
Right, Pelé. And somehow that name, Pelé, becomes known globally. It's kind of weirdly perfect.
It is strange how those things stick. So, okay, he gets older, and at just 15, bang, he joins Santos FC.
And the source makes it clear this wasn't a slow burn. His rise was incredibly fast from that point.
Unbelievably fast. He didn't just, blend in. His arrival seemed to spark this huge change at the club. They used his speed, his finishing.
And it worked. Suddenly they're winning state titles, national titles.
Exactly. His influence was direct, immediate, making his first team debut at 16. That's just, wow. It signals something really special was happening.
And the overview stresses how complete he was as a player, even then. It wasn't just goals, though there were tons of those.
Right. It talks about his speed, his quickness, yeah, but also the technical skill, the football intelligence.
It paints this picture of someone who just had everything.
Precisely. And if you think about football back then, having that mix of physical gifts and tactical smarts was pretty rare. The source mentions his balance, which was apparently amazing.
His vision, seeing passes nobody else saw.
And that calmness, that composure, especially when facing the goal, these weren't just raw skills. He knew how to use them effectively.
And boy, did the world see that effectiveness in Sweden. 1958 World Cup. He's 17.
Yeah, that was the big global reveal, wasn't it? This teenager, kind of unknown internationally.
Just explodes onto the scene.
Explodes is right. A hat trick against France in the semifinal.
And then 2 more in the final against Sweden. It's legendary stuff.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just him showing off, right? The source really points out how huge this was for Brazil, their first World Cup win.
Oh, massively significant. He wasn't just a star player. He was central to giving the whole nation that first taste of global football glory. Instant icon status back home.
Yeah, it tapped right into national pride, didn't it? Pelé's success became this symbol for Brazil on the world stage, a symbol of what they could achieve.
Then comes 1962 in Chile. Brazil wins again, which is huge.
But Pelé gets injured early.
Right. And the force notes that even injured, his importance was still salt. It says a lot about his presence, his influence, even from the sidelines.
Totally. His leadership, just his aura, must have meant something to the team. But then 1966 in England, that's a different story.
Yeah, the source paints that as a real low point.
Right.
Rough tackles, injuries again.
He got kicked pretty relentlessly in that tournament.
Yeah, and Brazil went out early. It adds that layer of, challenge to his story. It wasn't all smooth sailing.
And some people apparently started wondering, maybe his best years were already behind him after 66.
It shows even the greatest face setbacks. It could have gone differently from there. But then, Mexico, 1970.
1970, that's the one. His big comeback.
And that team. The source raves about it. Jairzinho, Rivellino, Tostão, just playing this beautiful, flowing football.
Absolutely captivating. And Pelé was right at the heart of it all. The source makes it clear it wasn't just his goals, though he scored key ones.
It was the assists, the passes, the way he seemed to conduct everything,
Yeah.
lift everyone else.
A totally commanding performance on the biggest stage.
And winning that third World Cup. The historical significance, the source says, is just immense. No other player has done that.
Ever. It cemented his legacy right there, didn't it? It wasn't just about talent anymore. It was about sustained dominance, leading his country to something unprecedented.
For so many people, that sealed the deal on him being the greatest ever.
Hard to argue with 3 World Cups, but of course his impact wasn't only with Brazil, back with Santos.
Oh yeah, the source lists all the titles, national, international, and those world tours they did.
They took Santos and Pelé everywhere.
It paints him as this global phenomenon,
Like a rock star in football boots, the source calls it. Which feels about right. It went beyond sport into full-blown celebrity. People just wanted to see him play anywhere in the world.
And then that moved to the New York Cosmos in '75. Some might have seen it as just, winding down.
A retirement payday, maybe?
Yeah, but the source frames it as way more important than that, especially for football in the U.S.
It really does. It highlights his role in basically kickstarting soccer's popularity there. You had sold-out stadiums.
And all sorts of celebrities showing up.
Yeah.
Sinatra, Kissinger, Muhammad Ali. He had this incredible crossover appeal.
It wasn't just playing, he was an ambassador, really selling the game to a new audience.
It's just nuts when you think about the sheer scope of his influence, not just on the pitch, but culturally.
And the source touches on his work beyond football, too, promoting peace, charity work, being this global ambassador for the game itself.
Right, getting awards like the UN Peace Medal, FIFA honors. It shows he was seen as more than just an athlete.
He used that huge platform he had for, positive things. It adds another layer to his status as this respected world figure.
Which brings us, sadly, to his passing in 2022.
Yeah.
82 years old.
A huge loss. But the source rightly says his legacy. Well, it's still very much alive. It endures.
Absolutely. You think about all the players he inspired, those moments of magic he created.
That connection he had with millions, billions of fans. The source puts it nicely, saying for Pelé, football was more than just scoring goals. It was emotion. It was beauty.
Like a dance, an art.
Yeah, exactly. A sense of community, too.
It's a great way to think about it. And the source wraps up with what feels like an undeniable point.
Yeah.
Pelé just fundamentally changed football. Forever.
He didn't just play the game, he elevated it, solidified his place as the king.
A perfect summary, really.
Yeah.
He set a whole new standard for what a footballer could be on and off the field.
Yeah, both the sporting excellence and that wider global impact.
So, pulling it all together then. From a kid in poverty with a ball made of rags to a 3-time World Cup winner, a global icon. Pelé's story, as we've sort of unpacked here, is just this incredible mix of talent, sheer grit, overcoming challenges.
And showing how sport can really cross borders and connect people.
Totally. His brilliance, his presence, it lifted his team, sure, but it lifted the whole game.
We really hope this deep dive gave you a good sense of his amazing journey and why he still matters so much, in football and just globally.
Definitely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Thinking about Pelé's impact both in the game and as this huge cultural figure. What do you think it actually takes? What are those key ingredients for an athlete to reach not just sporting greatness, but that kind of lasting global cultural significance that echoes decades later? Something to chew on.